The entire martial arts academy fell silent the moment the young woman collapsed onto the blue training mat. Only seconds earlier, the arrogant black belt had wrapped his arm tightly around her neck during what was supposed to be a friendly daytime sparring session. Her hands desperately searched for air as frightened students shouted for him to let go. Instead of releasing the choke immediately, he tightened it just long enough to prove a point. When he finally stepped away, he smirked and whispered, "Don't forget who I am." What he didn't know was that someone quietly watching from the back of the gym had once commanded one of the Navy SEALs' toughest teams, and the lesson about to unfold would change every life inside that building. Before we begin, if you believe kindness, humility, and second chances still matter in today's world, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Dad's Soul Diaries. Your support helps us continue bringing powerful emotional stories that inspire millions around the world. The small town of Ashwood was peaceful, surrounded by rolling green hills and endless farmland glowing beneath the warm morning sun. Parents trusted the local martial arts academy because it promised discipline, confidence, and respect. Children laughed while practicing their first kicks, teenagers dreamed of earning black belts, and adults found strength through training after long days at work. On the walls hung banners celebrating honor, integrity, and self-control. Yet behind those words, one instructor had slowly begun forgetting what martial arts truly meant. His name was Colton Voss, a 31-year-old champion whose tournament victories had made him famous throughout the region. Strong, fast, and technically brilliant, Colton believed nobody in the academy could challenge him. Praise from students and trophies from competitions slowly transformed confidence into arrogance. Instead of teaching patience, he demanded fear. Instead of encouraging growth, he embarrassed anyone who struggled. Many students quietly accepted his behavior because they believed greatness required harshness. Among those students was 24-year-old Brielle Dawson. Brielle had joined the academy after surviving one of the hardest years of her life. She had recently lost both her parents within months of each other and now worked long shifts as a veterinary assistant while caring for her younger brother. Martial arts had become her escape, helping her rebuild confidence one day at a time. She wasn't the strongest fighter, but she trained harder than anyone else. Every bruise reminded her she was becoming stronger inside, not just outside. That Saturday morning, the academy held an open sparring exhibition for families and visitors. Bright sunlight poured through the large windows as parents filled the bleachers, proudly watching their children. Among the visitors stood a quiet man wearing faded jeans, work boots, and a plain gray shirt. He carried himself with remarkable calm, watching every movement without drawing attention. His name was Grant Holloway. Most people assumed he was simply another parent waiting for class to finish. Nobody knew he had spent over 2 decades serving as a Navy SEAL officer, leading dangerous rescue missions around the world before retiring to care for his aging father. Combat had taught him discipline beyond imagination, but retirement had taught him something even greater: the strongest warriors were those who never looked for conflict. As the demonstrations continued, Colton chose Brielle as his sparring partner. The crowd applauded politely, expecting a technical exhibition designed to help younger students learn. The match began smoothly. Brielle defended herself well. She stayed calm. She showed respect. Then, unexpectedly, she slipped past Colton's defense and landed a clean point. The audience clapped. Colton's smile disappeared. His pride had been wounded. Instead of accepting the point with professionalism, he attacked aggressively. His movements became faster, heavier, and far more dangerous than necessary for a demonstration. Brielle struggled to defend herself as his frustration grew. Then it happened. Colton wrapped his arm around her neck. The choke tightened. Students froze. Parents stood. Several instructors shouted for him to release immediately. He waited. Just long enough for Brielle to collapse to one knee before finally letting go. As she struggled to breathe, he leaned closer with cold confidence. "Don't forget who I am." Those words echoed across the silent gym. Grant quietly stood. He didn't rush. He didn't shout. He simply walked across the mat with the steady confidence of someone who had spent years making life-or-death decisions under unimaginable pressure. He knelt beside Brielle first, making sure she could breathe properly before helping her sit upright. Only after ensuring she was safe did he turn toward Colton. There was no anger in his face. Only disappointment. Grant calmly requested permission from the academy owner to demonstrate what true control looked like. The owner, shaken by what everyone had witnessed, agreed. Colton laughed. He looked at Grant's worn boots, weathered hands, and silver beginning to appear around his temples. He saw an aging man. He did not see experience. The exhibition began beneath the bright afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows. Colton attacked confidently. His strikes were powerful. His combinations were fast. Grant barely moved. Every attack missed by inches. Every aggressive movement was redirected effortlessly. There were no flashy techniques. No unnecessary force. Only perfect timing. Within seconds Colton found himself gently but completely restrained on the mat, unable to move despite using every ounce of strength he possessed. Grant never struck him. Never humiliated him. Never celebrated. He simply released him and stepped backward. The room erupted into stunned silence. Parents stared. Students exchanged confused glances. Even senior instructors struggled to understand what they had just witnessed. Someone quietly asked Grant where he had learned those techniques. He hesitated. Then admitted he had spent 23 years serving as a Navy SEAL officer, training elite operators whose greatest responsibility was protecting lives, not dominating opponents. The atmosphere changed instantly. Grant looked around the academy filled with children. He explained that martial arts existed to create protectors, not bullies. The strongest fighter in any room should always make everyone else feel safer, not afraid. His words carried far more weight than any physical demonstration. Colton lowered his head. For the first time in years, nobody admired him. Nobody applauded him. He realized he had mistaken fear for respect. That realization hurt more deeply than defeat. Over the following weeks, the academy underwent remarkable change. Colton voluntarily stepped away from teaching while attending counseling and leadership training recommended by the academy owner. He visited veterans, spoke with community mentors, and spent hours reflecting on why he had allowed pride to replace purpose. Grant never criticized him publicly. Instead, he visited occasionally, quietly helping younger students understand discipline, patience, and humility. Brielle recovered fully. Rather than quitting, she returned stronger than ever. Her courage inspired countless new students who had once been afraid of failure. Months later, the academy held another daytime exhibition. This time Colton stood before every student without his championship medals. Without boasting. Without excuses. He publicly accepted responsibility for his actions and promised that no student under his guidance would ever again confuse intimidation with leadership. The applause that followed wasn't for a champion. It was for a man willing to change. Grant smiled quietly from the back of the room before slipping outside unnoticed. He had never wanted recognition. He had only wanted the next generation to understand that true strength begins with self-control. Years later, parents would still tell new students about the day a quiet veteran reminded an entire academy what martial arts truly represented. Not power. Not pride. Not fear. But courage, compassion, and responsibility. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to Dad's Soul Diaries. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that inspire hope, kindness, and courage. Special request, comment "Real strength protects" if you believe the strongest people are those who choose compassion over arrogance. As the golden afternoon sunlight stretched across the training mats, the academy felt different. Children laughed freely again, parents watched with peace of mind, and every bow before practice carried new meaning. The greatest victory that day wasn't won through a chokehold or a trophy, it was won when pride gave way to humility, when fear was replaced with respect, and when one quiet Navy SEAL reminded everyone that real heroes don't demand others remember who they are. They live in such a way that no one could ever forget.